All right, everybody, welcome back to the Talking Average Fitness podcast. As always, my name is Sam Burns. I'm not where you are, probably. I'm on vacation in Hawaii, hence my headline of Fair Weather New Englander. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Kevin McCarthy, who is a tall, pale ginger. Kevin, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Much chillier than yourself, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably. I think our high today is going to be in the low to mid 80s and clear skies. I can see straight out to nice blue water. It's Hawaii. It's everything you hope
Wow.
Hawaii is. Yeah.
There you go. How long are you out there for?
So we're here
Forever.
2 weeks total. We're going to be in this location. So we're on the island of Oahu. We're in a place called Ko'olina. And we're here until Wednesday, and then we leave Ko'olina and we go across the little bay to Waikiki, and we stay in Waikiki for a week, and then we come back home.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's nice because my wife, her busy season because she does college admissions counseling goes like August to January 1st, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're finally in a space where she can like relax for the first time in several months, and so
What's
this is
that like?
really all. Yeah, I don't know. She works her ass off, so this is really really nice for her to actually be able to like unplug and like
Yeah.
not bring a phone and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And then instead of relaxing, here you are recording a podcast.
Well,
One of your many.
one of my many podcasts.
One of
Well,
your many.
so here's where we get to the crux of today's topic. So backstory, I got sent by some friends a screenshot of a story, an Instagram story, of a workout that was at a gym. So I have a friend who knows someone who went to this affiliate and did this workout. Okay.
Oh.
And right.
How are their
And
legs?
well, we're gonna find out.
Okay, fantastic.
So what I am not going to do is I'm not going to disclose who the affiliate is, who that person who did the workout is, and what their connection to me is. Because it's
so
I mean,
proper. So like avoiding
well,
controversy all over the place.
so the thing is I saw this and I got fired up.
I know you
And
texted me about it.
yeah,
You were very fired up.
and so let's kind of get into this. So I get sent a screenshot of this Instagram story, and it's a whiteboard, in a gym. And at the top it says squat day, right? And then it says Karen 150 wall balls. And then after that, at the 20-minute mark, Fran 21:59 thrusters and pull-ups, right? Score is total time for both. So I was confused because of like, is it Karen into Fran and you just like pause between the two? Is it unbroken between the two? I would assume it's a pause between the two. But then there's the levels, right? So like how they have it broken up. So there's a level one.
Sent me.
Right? It's a
I'm
level
so
one, a level
confused.
2, a level 3, and level 4. So level 1 is the highest.
Yeah.
Level 4 is the lowest.
I would say, like, to clarify for some people, if your gyms don't do like a level system, some gyms do it, some programs do it. Basically, level 1 is what would be considered quote unquote RX. And then as the levels go down, it's basically like different variations of scaling or modifications to the workout to suit different levels of athletes. And it's just one way of applying scaling to the CrossFit methodology, just so we kind of like have that foundation set. So level 1 would be the most difficult version of said workout, would be the RX version. And then as it goes down, it gets not easier, more appropriate for that level of athlete. As it kind of levels down.
I've always thought of scaling as kind of an a la carte menu. You can pick and choose from wherever you want. The nice thing about the level system is it gives pre-built. It's like combo packages, right?
Yeah.
Like you can pick anything, but here's package number 1 and package number 2, and it helps streamline the scaling process a little bit. And for coaches, it doesn't absolve you of your responsibility of actually checking in with your athletes. You still have to do that, but it's nice because it can help people understand where they are in the novice, intermediate, advanced hierarchy of athleticism for CrossFit.
Right.
And then sometimes for some movements, maybe I'm in between two positions, right?
Yeah.
So
I'd always viewed kind of like the level system as like the, like you said, it's kind of like gives like your package deals, but to your point, the danger there is like some coach might be like, all right, pick one. You're either level 1, level 2, level 3. Pick one and you're going to roll with it. As opposed to like kind of checking in, let's find something that works for you.
Yeah.
Whereas like for me, the way I kind of view it is if you're at a gym that does that, or you have a, program that does this, that is just to give an idea of like, hey, this is what RX looks like. This is what an intermediate option could look like. This is what a kind of more novice or beginner option could look like.
Yeah. All right. So our level system, right? Commonly used mechanism, right? So again, there are 4 levels on this whiteboard: 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 is the highest, 4 is the lowest. Level 3 is the workouts as prescribed normally. So again, I'm talking about Karen, which is 150 wall balls, and then Fran, 21, 15, 9 thrusters and pull-ups. So level 3 is Karen with a 20-pound ball for the males, a 14-pound ball for the females, to a 10 or 9-foot target, respectively. And Fran, 95 pounds or 65 pounds for the thruster and pull-ups. Level 3.
So that's exactly. There's 2 tiers above that. Just bear in mind.
Right. So before we talk about those 2 tiers, fuck this workout. All right. Like, I feel like we've talked enough about intensity and the drawbacks of over-volumizing athletes and like the compromises you make when you do, say, strength and metcon programming, like basically anything where you're going above a certain amount of volume, there's a compromise you have to make in intensity, right?
Right.
We highlight, things like, well, it's a bad idea to do a heavy back squat before you do Fran, for example, because Fran is very metabolically demanding. I want pedal to the metal, no holds bar, leave your ego and your endocrine system at the door and, just sell your soul.
Face down, open mouth, breathing on the floor.
Absolutely. So that's the feeling I want from Fran. So why would I
100%.
dilute that by doing a back squat, right? So to be clear, when I ask you, why would I dilute that? I'm saying that's a bad idea. I personally think that it's a bad idea to over-volumize your athletes and to limit their ability to access intensity by doing a strength-oriented piece before a benchmark workout. So when I see this, please understand what I mean when I say it's an even worse idea to do 2 benchmarks back to back. Like, you're not, it doesn't matter which order you put them in here.
No.
Like, if I do Fran first, I'm not going to get what I could out of Karen. If I do Karen first, I'm not going to get what I could out of Fran.
Yep.
And go.
I was just going to say, like, because this just popped in my head as soon as you said, like, doing 2 benchmarks back to back, because I agree with you. But I do remember a day when we were at coaching at One Nation that hand plan programmed. It was Karen, and then at a certain time point, it might have been like at the 20-minute mark, at 15-minute something, you did Annie. And so I think so you see where I'm going with this is like you have Karen and Annie are 2 like vastly different workouts. They're similar time domain in the sense that they're fast, but it's like it's very vastly different. You're not smoking the same movement pattern. Like Karen into Fran is you're just doing a thruster with a medicine ball into a thruster with a barbell. They're both thrusters, and you've now done probably including warm up. Hopefully there's a warm up, but including warm up, probably approaching if you're doing an appropriate warm-up for this workout, I'm sure you could come up with one in your head right now, including appropriate warm-up. You've probably done somewhere in the realm of 230, 250 thrusters on the day.
Yeah,
like, or thrust, including if we're terming a wall ball and a thruster essentially the same movement, you're doing 250 of some of those in combination between the workout, the warm-up on the day.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be able to stand up, sit down, walk, move. That would do me. I'd be done.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's another way to think of this. Like, we talk about over-volumizing. How much does that really matter? Okay, let's put it into like numbers. If I take a 20-pound wall ball.
Yes, sir.
And
I know where you're going with this. I like this.
See, you know where, yeah.
I know where you're going.
I move it 150 times. Yes. I have effectively moved 3,000 pounds. 20 times 150 is 3,000 pounds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I then also take a 95-pound barbell.
Yes, sir.
And I move it 45 times, I've moved an additional 4,275 pounds, right?
Yep.
So either one of those, let's say you did let's do like a heavy back squat day, like heavy singles, right? Like,
okay,
you know,
like 7 by 1.
Let's do 7 by 1. Yeah, like
all right.
7 by 1 singles. Like if I was at 80%,
yep,
7 by 1 at 80%, that'd be hard. So I'm going to take a recent max. Oop.
Yeah, so I just did the math for myself, and that's like just over 2,000 pounds of work.
Right? Mine's under.
Yeah. Yep.
I would do less work on a heavy squat day
yep.
than I would in either of those two workouts.
Yep. In terms of load times reps.
Yes.
Like, we're thinking total volume. We're nerding out here. Like volume, not like number of reps or like number of workouts per day. Volume in terms of the amount of work done.
The loading.
Exactly. By your body via the loading. The loading times reps for your volume is that amount of total poundage of work.
Absolutely.
Is stupid. So you're in a heavy day, again, we've done a 7 by 1 back squat at 80%. I'm like 2,200 pounds of work.
Yeah.
But on this day, you're approaching 7,500 pounds of work.
Like,
I mean, if you want to get fitter, you just do more, right? That's how that works.
That's how.
I'm pretty sure someone once said more is better, and I would.
So that's how that works. Okay, so we've established that we think that this is a bad idea, right?
Yeah.
Both, like,
just at baseline,
spiritually, as well as mathematically,
emotionally.
So now let's talk about like the other levels. So it's probably easiest just to skip right. No, actually, let's screw that. So level 2, right? So, and they're calling this. Level 3 is RX, traditional standards. That's what they have in parentheses on this whiteboard.
Yep.
If you go up to level 2, it says varsity, right? So it used to be that the workout as prescribed was like, that's what we're looking for. I'm looking, like, just go faster. Like, you want to be fucking fitter? Go faster. No. You were JV if you were just doing
I was going to say
Fran,
Yeah,
you don't.
I was going to say, I didn't know Fran RX was considered JV. God damn.
Yeah. Well, so now varsity Karen is 150 wall balls with a 30-pound medicine ball for the males and a 20-pound for a female. First of all,
wait a second. While you're keep going, I'm going to do the math on that.
Okay, you do the math. So Karen, 150-pound wall balls, 30 and 20, and then Fran, 115 pounds for the guys and 85 for the ladies. And Denise Thomas would be angry right now, if she wasn't already, because they did the math wrong for the female weight. It should be 80 pounds and not 85 pounds. That's a greater than 70% conversion. And then for the pull-ups, it becomes chest to bars, right? So a greater range of motion for the pull, heavier thruster, heavier wall ball. Kevin, hit me with some numbers. What are we looking at here? If you remember, ladies and gents, we're looking at 3,000 for the first Karen for Karen, and 42 and change, 41 and change for Fran.
So
Okay.
previously for the JV version, traditional RX standard, that's I didn't when you sent me the picture, I didn't notice that. So it's amazing. So we went from it was about 7,200 pounds of total work for
Yes.
for these two workouts combined as
Yes.
written. There's about 7,200 pounds of work. Now, our varsity version, again, combined, Karen plus Fran, is not just shy of 9,700 pounds of work. We're just shy of 10,000 pounds worth of work for the varsity version.
Yeah. So,
I mean, like, if I'll tell you this, if anyone here hasn't done a heavy wall ball, if anyone that may or may not be listening has not done heavy wall ball, okay, so you're a female athlete, you've never used a 20-pound ball, you're a male athlete, you've never used a 30-pound ball. If you can find one, I want you to do 10 unbroken balls with a wall ball. And then you come back to us, tell us exactly your thoughts and feelings during that.
Show us where the wall ball hurt you.
Yeah, exactly. Or better yet, pick up that heavy wall ball and try to get that thing to a 10 or 9 foot target on the first try. That was the hardest thing for me when I picked one up. I think I threw it and it went like 7 feet on the wall, which is only a foot above me. So it didn't go anywhere. So first, that 30 pound ball for Karen, that right there would do me for at least 2 weeks. You'd have to stretcher me around places. I'd be useless as a human being. No part of me at all wants to do that.
Yeah.
Ever. So what's our elite? I read the little caption. What's the elite version, Sam?
So we've established, Karen at a heavier weight, Fran at a heavier weight plus chest to bars. The Karen stays the same. 150 wall balls, 30 and 20. I thought they just raised the wall as well because they're apparently just assholes over here. But they didn't. They kept it the same, which smacks of lack of initiative and originality, I think. But Fran now goes to 21.59 thrusters at 135 pounds for the guys, 95 pounds for the ladies.
Easy.
And bar muscle-ups. So
how long does it take you to do 21 bar muscle-ups, Sam? How good's your intensity going to be on 21 bar muscle-ups?
Well, so there's two things to be said here. First of all, if you're executing these two workouts, no. The first thing I want to say is if your workout of the day is for time, Karen, heavy Karen, let's call it, and then at the 20-minute mark, begin your fucked up Fran or whatever. It seems to me that you don't care what happens between those things. I'm going to make the assumption that you don't care what happens in terms of how long it takes someone to execute on, say, heavy Karen, right? And maybe the coach, set some parameters. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They said, I want you to have at least 5 minutes rest. You cannot take more than 15 minutes, or you cannot take more than, a really aggressive version would be 10 minutes. You can't take more than 10 minutes on your first Karen so that you have at least 10 minutes rest. That might be the most ethical way to go about that kind of thing, right? Where you're strictly enforcing something approaching a reasonable work to rest ratio.
Yeah. Well, because I'm just thinking, if you took 15 minutes, let's say you were feeling ballsy that day, you showed up to the gym, you had your brand spanking new Lululemon shorts on, you're like, I am
damn shit. I got my Lulus on right now.
Oh, see? So you puff your chest out, you're like, I'm going to use a 30-pound ball today. Let's fucking get some.
Get it.
And you strap onto that thing and you do 22 reps to open up and then singles the rest of the way. Listen, I said you were feeling feisty.
22 reps.
I don't know. I'm just making up a number.
That means you've got 128 left. Singles Fuck this
Exactly.
ball. One at a time.
Fuck this ball. I was short, like a little man. And so like if that Karen takes you 15 minutes, right? So let's just clarify that if you do 22 reps unbroken, that 30-pound ball, and you've not done it because you were feeling feisty, you're like, I'm gonna get it, and you're feeling feisty, you do 22 unbroken, like your Karen is now done. Like you're done, you're cooked, you're over, because again, you're doing singles from there on.
Yeah.
It will take you 2 business days, but let's just assume you're able to like claw your way to the finish line like 15 minutes. You get your 5 minutes rest. I don't know what amount of rolling around on the floor in 5 minutes is going to get you ready and prepared to do Fran at 135.
Right?
Like in my mind, it's like you need at least that 10 minutes. And in my mind, again, if I'm running that class, it's like, look, like you're 10 minutes, you're cut off. So pick a weight that you can burn it down. It really that you can, again, get the intensity of Karen, not so much just like, not only just to get the intensity of Karen, that's important, but like also because like, homie, you're going to need to sit down for a while and like regather the forces to then have enough to go back after Fran. But I do have like a small little side tangent on Karen. I was talking to my other coach, Colin, about Karen and like our experience with Karen. And I was like, look, there's only 2 ways to do Karen, right? Yeah. It's either you take some smart breaks and you just like sets of 10 or 15, you pick a number and you just like do a set, quick break, do a set, quick break, and you keep motoring along, right? That's option 1. Or you're going unbroken or you're dying trying. Like those are the 2 options, because I've seen it happen so many times where an athlete's like, I'm going to go for big sets. I'm like, does big set mean unbroken? I'm like, no, I don't know if I can do it unbroken. I'm like, Godspeed. I've seen someone open up again with a set of like, 50, 60, 70 range of wall balls, like just giving it. And then the wall ball hits the floor. You're not even halfway done. Your workout's over. You're done. Like this is what it is. It's like you either have to hang on for all 150 or you have to break it up smart. Because if you do 70, let that wall ball hit the floor. First of all, you're going to look at it on the floor for the next 15 minutes. And then when you go to pick it up, you're going to be doing sets of 5 the rest of the way because you're just cooked. It's like, those are the 2 ways to do Karen. Is you either have to hang on for all 150 and whatever happens to you happens.
Sure.
Or you have to break it up smart. And that was our strategy talk on Karen.
And it's like, yes, it's max set of wall balls. And if you get to 150, great. If not, you're still done. And like, that's a great way to do that workout.
It is. Like you will get fitter. Not that you're done, but like, because you can do a large set and then continue to kind of chip along. But like, if you drop the wall ball at like, 72 and you got to chip your way through, another 78 reps, you're just going to be miserable. You're not going to die. Your workout's not over. It's just not, you're not going to be enjoying yourself.
No, but like, good on you for like, and I remember we had the good fortune of having Steph Chung at Medfield for a while. Like her family was from Medfield, and she came back and she trained there. And her husband, Rob Morellis, who's now the head coach at Invictus in Boston, he coached there a little bit. He trained there, and we got to pick their brains about stuff. It was really, really cool. And I remember her saying once, someone asked her a question like, "Hey, should I try to go unbroken or go as many reps as I can, or should I do smart sets?" And she's like, "What's your goal?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know." And she says, "If you want the best training stimulus possible, go for your biggest unbroken set and just like push your capacity to the max, right?
Yep.
If you want the best possible time, you've got to break it up smart. Right?
Yep, I 100% agree. Yep, that's a smart way to look at it.
I think it's a great way to look at it. Steph's a smart cat, multiple time CrossFit Games athlete. I'll never forget that. It's a very, very cool little side story. So back to this horse shit. So we've established, like, hopefully this coach gave some parameters. My gut tells me there were not that many parameters given.
No, but just based on the whiteboard, I'm like, nope. It's probably just a dude just sitting there munched on a protein bar being like, yep, good job, guys.
Yeah, and like maybe not. Like I'm not going to reveal anything. I know where this affiliate was. I know who runs the affiliate, and so based on those pieces of information, you can kind of suss out like what kind of person, stereotypically, might be driving the bus up here, right? So if they have or have not imparted any kind of, I guess, the parameters on how this should be executed, hopefully they did. Like, let's make no mistake. If you can, in less than 20 minutes, execute Karen at 30 pounds, I'm going to keep it to the guys' weights for simplicity. Execute Karen at 30 pounds, and then have a little bit of rest, and then do 21, 15, 9, thrusters at 135, and bar muscle ups. Like, it would seem to me that you would have elite level capacity.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Right? And so
like you are probably the person that can do that workout, the elite version that you've just described, the person that can do that really well is likely a CrossFit semifinals athlete, or like the upper echelon of like a quarterfinals athlete. You're very competitive in CrossFit if you can do that workout well.
Sure. And maybe at your affiliate, it is the case that there are many athletes that are at that caliber. And we've seen this in other places. Like, there are some gyms where like you get a coach or a certain member who's high level, and then other people kind of gravitate towards that person, and they can, for a very small group, raise the kind of competitive output that happens in workouts. And a lot of times we'll see these people are on an RX plus kind of training track, or they are on a separate individual competitor track because they have a focus of competing at, RIP regionals or, something like that, right? Competitive CrossFit is the thing. But another thing that we've outlined many times is that programming for competitive athletes and then trickling that down to everyone else in the community, one, was never the intention that CrossFit was designed with, and two, when you take the long-term outlook and you start looking at work capacity across raw time and modal domains throughout your lifetime, which we have, that's how we define health, you are going to end up compromising the positive effects of the training protocol when you do shit like this regularly. And my fervent hope is that this was not in a class, and it was like some horseshit that a bunch of like random people threw together.
Yeah, like a Saturday afternoon, you get your like handful of competitor athletes at the gym, and you're like, right, guys, we're gonna get stupid,
right?
Yeah,
and like Lynchman does the Monster Mash on Mondays.
Yeah,
and like that's an example, right? But
I love the Monster Mash.
Oh,
it's so good.
It's so good. But
I look at it and I'm just like, oh.
So shout out to Pat Sherwood. I'm gonna tag him in this somehow. I would love to get Sherwood on here.
Wouldn't that be great?
It would be killer. I'm gonna reach out to him. Blind. We've had such great success doing that.
Just start messaging people on Instagram. Hey.
Pretty much.
I'll just shoot a DM to Dave Castro, see what we can get.
I'm gonna come back to that. But he makes it very clear, like, this is not to be done for everyone. Like, this is for people who like are already high-level athletes. They're looking for a little something extra. They're looking for that competitive style something or other. Like, there's a time and a place for that kind of thing. But my understanding from the circumstances regarding this particular workout that we're talking about was that the person who participated in this, from whom the rest of the world got access to this particular piece of data,
Yeah.
was not a regionals level athlete. And so, statistically speaking, at best, this person was falling in the level 3 range of things that were happening here, right?
Yeah.
And I see this stuff. I've seen this stuff like this for years now. And I think sometimes it becomes like a badge of honor for affiliates or individuals. Like the thing that distinguishes them is, it's one thing to do like a heavy lift and then a 20-minute AMRAP 5-movement chipper style shit. It's another thing entirely to just like take that to an extreme. And I've seen that with I don't know why. I can speculate on why, but like groups on Instagram that purport to be able to get you ready for like special operations selection processes. And so they're like, yeah, come do our 40-day Ranger Fit program and we'll get you ready. And maybe, but I've known some legit people in the space, and when they talk about that kind of stuff, most of the time the people driving those buses are not talking about 40 weeks to Ranger Fit or something like that. And it's now we come back to something we've talked about endlessly, which is master coaches, master practitioners of their craft. They drill the basics. They drill the basics relentlessly.
I was just going to say relentlessly.
Yeah, and I saw it. I had a good fortune to train with a Green Beret, do hand-to-hand combat and like combat pistol training with a Green Beret. I had the good fortune to learn long-range shooting from a Marine Corps sniper instructor, and my work with CrossFit has put me in proximity to, without argument, some of the best coaches and athletes in the world. And none of them have purported to have a secret sauce. None of them have purported to, and then it's this, by the way, if you haven't seen Derek from More Plates, More Dates, his like total breakdown of the Liver King, it's got this great section where Zach Tellender, who's an Olympic weightlifter and coach, talks about the definition of a charlatan. It's such a great little. It's worth watching that video just for Tellender's breakdown of the definition of a charlatan, because the person who is a charlatan needs you to believe that they have the secret thing that you cannot get anywhere else. And if anyone purports to have it figured out who does not have that secret thing, then they are in some way
they're cheating, they're wrong, they muck something up, they're lying to you, they're creating something different. I have the only way, and my way is the only way, and that whole thing. And usually a lot of times it's they have a solution to a problem that they've created for you.
So that's like another level.
Right? It's like, I don't know, it's like I'm trying to think of a good example.
You didn't know it was a problem until you watched their video.
Yeah, exactly. Like that type of thing. And I'm trying to think of an example of it, because I know that if you're in the fitness space and you don't follow Lane Norton, please follow Lane Norton.
I was going to say, it's fucking ice baths, and is salt water a bad thing? Or is drinking cold water going to slow down my fat metabolism? And his response was...
Who said that?
Someone posted, like, Lane Norton is great. He's constantly doing AMAs. Yeah. And someone asked a question like, if I drink ice water, is it going to slow down my ability to metabolize fat? And his response was, you people are looking for shit to be scared of. It's like, that makes no sense.
Or you're just looking for the easy, the quick thing. Be like, I've been struggling losing weight for a while.
Yeah.
So it must be that I'm drinking cold water. It's definitely not because I'm eating like an asshole. With the most respectfully as I can say that. But like, it's stuff like that sometimes those people will take advantage of it. They'll create a problem that you didn't know you had until they posted about it, and then they magically have the solution. You got to buy something from them. Don't listen to those people.
Yeah, don't listen to those people. And so now we come back full circle. Like, as we have so often asked on this podcast, why are you doing what you do, right? So, like, if your purpose is to simulate something that could happen at the CrossFit Games, like I could see. I mean, they've done double grace, and then a year later it was heavy grace.
Yep.
Like, they've done shit like that.
Yeah.
And with Boz at the helm now, like,
who knows,
right? Like,
really knows.
Elizabeth with P-bars, like, that was
amazing.
So cool.
That was so good. I was like, and I really think, I know we're getting like a little bit off topic into like more competitive CrossFit stuff, but I really think it's cool that, and that's the beautiful thing about CrossFit, right? Is it's infinitely malleable in terms of like what the test can look like. You take something like Elizabeth, which is it written as just cleans? Is it normally squat cleans, power cleans? I always forget because I've seen it.
I believe it's written as cleans, but OG CrossFitters will tell you it's meant to be squat cleans.
Okay. Well, I was going to say if it's written as a clean, then it should be a squat clean and everybody else can get fucked. So unless designated as power, a clean specifies catching the bottom position. That's just the weightlifter in me. Sorry, not sorry.
Yep.
So anyways, so you take that workout, which is cleans and ring dips. And normally when people think upping the ante, making things more challenging, making things more advanced, however you want to phrase that, it typically comes in the form of adding load. Meaning we put more weight on the bar. We're using a heavier dumbbell, a heavier wall ball. We're putting on a weight vest for pull-ups, push-ups, and air squats. Like, we're adding load to the movement rather than complexity from like a gymnastic standpoint. So it's like, so rather than, I feel like what most people would think for like Elizabeth, you're doing cleans, and then for the ring dips would be, the evolution people think, it's like, oh, the ring dips are easy, do it with a weight vest. It's like, or how about you do parallel bar traverses with the dips? Yeah. And it's like, oh baby, there's a whole nother element to it. I really liked the way that Boz kind of like, pushed open that door a little bit for increasing the complexity of gymnastics. And I'm sure you really enjoyed it as well, being as if anyone's been listening to the podcast, you know that Sam enjoys his gymnastics. So I thought that was really cool that he started to kind of go that way a little bit. Cause it's like, hey guys, you all got really great at doing 365-pound clean and jerks. Sick. How well can you do a handstand push-up facing the wall, where we're really going to test the virtuosity of your handstand position, right? And I don't know if anybody watched Ricky Garrard doing that, but his back looked like a backwards banana on that thing, and he couldn't do it because he had relied so much on, I can create a mechanical advantage by arching my back against the wall the other way, right? Like, I can create a mechanical advantage to press by arching my back. Now that you're facing the wall, like, face and stomach against the wall, you can't arch your back, otherwise you'll fall off. So the arching the back is no longer a mechanical advantage. Even though it's happening, since the movement pattern you built, it's no longer a mechanical advantage the way you're facing the wall. And you saw a few other athletes really struggle with that like, if you ask them to do 50 unbroken strict handstand push-ups normal ways, they probably could. Ask them to do 10 against the wall that way, and they were like, nah, can't do it.
Well, so talking about mechanical advantage, I'm going to step back here, create a little diagram. So typically when we talk about the handstand push-up, we all imagine it as this, right? What happens so often with the handstand push-up, and I want anyone who's watching to imagine me upside down, right? So the wall is behind me. I have kicked up onto the wall. I've created this position here. And first of all, everybody loves to stick their arms out wide so that their range of motion is this, right?
Yes.
Second, and if you have short arms anyway, and that is your range of motion, right here. Second of all, when when you lower yourself down, right? Let's say I'm going to do like a perfect, virtuous handstand push-up. Elbows would break forward, midline nice and locked out. Elbows break forward, tap, press. That's tremendously difficult. All of that load sits right here and right here. Whereas if I go tap, press, now I've turned it into an inverted bench press, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And as anyone who's ever done strict handstand push-ups versus bench press knows, we'd way rather do this than this, right?
100%. Yep.
So the cool thing about doing gymnastics virtuously is if I practice my strict handstand push-up as this, it doesn't matter what fucking direction I face because my body's in a great position.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But I mean, that's, part of the competitive space, like kind of the way it was going was just how many reps can you do?
Yeah.
And so like, they're like, okay, cool. Let me find a grip width and a torso archness. I don't know if that's a word, but it's going to be now. Torso archness that allows me to do a bunch of reps. But I really,
by the way, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we see the same thing now with the GHD sit-up where...
Oh, it gets me. Oh, I get so angry the entire time.
I know.
It makes me mad. Anyway,
I
know it's exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, you do.
If you want to know people doing GHD sit-ups the wrong way, just literally click onto any competitor's channel, be it Mayhem, Underdogs, pick one and watch it. And watch them do GHD sit-ups where their legs don't move and they're in like a bent leg the entire time.
Yes.
It's like just makes them faster, like up and down. And it's like, I mean, I guess from a competition standpoint, like you touch the floor, you touch the foot pad. That's like point A and B, I guess.
Sure.
If you want someone arguing against that, go onto Adrian Conway's page. Click on that thing. And
I love that, man.
Shreds them to pieces. It's like, oh, man.
So my complaint with that is that, first of all, and again, we operate in the CrossFit
with the GHD cheat thing, or just
my complaint with the GHD. Well, so actually, it applies to a bunch of different things.
Okay,
it's the same issue with GHD setup. It's the same issue with kipping handstand push-ups. The same issue with kipping movements on a bar. It's the same issue with any of those things where like CrossFitters are not the only, but maybe one of the more predominant communities where average people can look at things being done by professional athletes and say, I should do that too. And they get to, right?
Yep.
And so, like, you want to train like Rich? Cool. You can buy his program and do his shit. You want to train like Matt Fraser? You can buy his program and do his shit.
Yep.
Whereas, like, nobody's selling the training regimen for the Buccaneers offensive line. Like, you can't buy that anywhere,
No.
And it's understood that, like, you shouldn't be doing that. But as a community, we look at high-level competitive athletes who are doing things to be, as Pat Barber so eloquently put it, physically dominant rather than physically competent. And they are doing so with the knowledge that it is for a short period of time, it's for competition purposes, and really now, for better or for worse, it's for money, right? It's not for health and longevity.
Nope.
And we are looking at their movement patterns and saying, that's what we should do. That's what we should be doing. And what I love about Boz's work with, P-bar Elizabeth is a great example. The wall-facing handstand push-up is a great example. Is I'm going to take everything that you have been exploiting for the last 10 years, and I'm going to make it your weakness.
Yep.
And what he's doing is he's at a competition level enforcing virtuosity.
Which I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. But also, I really, when it comes to that kind of thing, like the competitive CrossFit, the evolution of everything's going. I was watching a video. I think it came out of Misfit Athletics.
Probably.
And those guys are smart
Shout out
in
Portland,
terms
Maine.
of and honestly, I think those guys are great and they're smart, and the way that they approach things is from a competitive CrossFit side. Like, they do preach, hey, intensity over volume. Like, we want you to go hard. If you can do 4 pieces, bonus points. If two pieces is what it needs to be for you to get sufficient intensity, then do that. So like, they really do kind of preach that aspect of it, which I really respect and appreciate. But then I remember there was a video, they had created what they call the Misfit benchmarks, the workout called pennies. And if you're not sure what it is, you can YouTube it and see if
I just got it.
Do you know what it is? Yeah, exactly. So pennies is a workout. It's 4 rounds of 6 squat cleans at 225 and 155 and 6 ring muscle ups with a 400-meter run in between rounds. So you think you do a round of 6 and 6, run, 6 and 6, run, 6 and 6, run, and then it finishes 6 and 6. So there isn't a 4th run. So it's not quite 4 rounds. So that's right. So they named the workout pennies because they're like, after you finish it, if you're hitting it with sufficient intensity, you kind of get like that little taste of blood in your mouth. So a little coppery taste. So that workout, they were like, they wrote it back in 2011, 2012, whenever they started their affiliate, they wrote that workout. And it was supposed to be like, hey, the upper at like the best of the best, this is the workout. And then it kind of like, again, scales down from there in terms of loading and complexity. It would have then again having like, it was a video of like a couple of their athletes retesting it like in 2021 or something like that. And they were like, it's so easy and so quick for like the evolution of CrossFit. Everyone wants to do it heavier and bigger and, whatever. And they were like, there's something really beautiful too. If you want to show me you're fitter, just do it faster. Yeah. So they were like, our benchmark, that benchmark pennies hasn't changed. It's still 225 and 155 and ring muscle ups. And it's like, but it went from your best athletes doing that in like mid 20s minutes to, I believe one of their athletes, Travis Williams, in that video did it in sub 10 minutes. And so it's just like, yeah, right. So it's like, that's the thing is like, if you want to keep athletes at that mid 25-minute range, cool. Make the squat cleans 315, make the muscle up strict, like, add complexity, add load, whatever. But they were like, there's something so simple and so beautiful about the sport. Not everything has to be bigger, better, heavier. Sometimes it's just go faster. Like, show me you're fitter by doing it faster, And so I don't know. I really like that sentiment when it came to, again, coming to like the virtuosity and keep things simple thing in competitive CrossFit. It's like, that's cool. You don't need to do Karen with a 30-pound ball, rest a bit, and then Fran at 135. Like, if you're going to do that workout, okay, I disagree with it in the class. Let's just say you're doing that workout. Okay. Like, have the workout be 20 and 14-pound wall ball, 95, 65-pound bar and pull-ups, and do it faster.
Yeah.
See if you can get both workouts sub 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, like, that would do me. I don't know about you. That would do me.
Well, I love that. First of all, we could do maybe a whole episode on strategies and like score breakdown for that workout. Cause
I mean, we probably will, if we're being honest.
That's a really,
because we are self-proclaimed nerds of CrossFit.
We are why not? I think that like that's a really well designed workout.
Isn't it though?
The volume is appropriate. The loading, like when I say appropriate, I mean it's not excessive, right?
You're doing 24 reps of each movement, which I normally think for ring muscle ups or for muscle ups in general, like right around that like 25 to 30 range would be like on the high end of reps for a muscle up for a workout, unless you're doing like, a hero workout or something where the muscle up volume is higher. Like that's kind of like that quote unquote normal range from total volume muscle ups in the workout. For that loading of squat cleans, it's appropriate for what it is. And it's like,
absolutely,
once you get decent enough at cycling the bar and doing the muscle ups, it's like Nancy. It's how fast do you want to run? It's like Helen.
Absolutely.
How fast are you willing to run?
And the thing is, nobody wants to do that. That's why everybody wants to make the movement harder or the load heavier, is because nobody wants to fucking run a 400 meter in 130 more than once.
Exactly. I know I don't.
I don't.
But it's like the thing is, this is a conversation I have with Colin where it's like, people want to like do something more challenging. I think I'm going to do this way today. It's like, you're just looking for an excuse to go slower. And whether you want to consciously admit that or not, if you're like, hey, I normally do, I don't know, Fran, since it's the workout in question, would normally do Fran at 95, 65. And it's like, in the 4 to 5 minute range, but I've done it a few times, I'm just going to do it at 115. It's like, you're just looking for an excuse to go slower. And whether you want to consciously admit that to yourself or not, that's what you're doing. You're giving yourself an out. When your time is 7 minutes and people go, hey, Sam, what the hell happened? You normally crush Fran. Oh, well, I did it at 115. And everyone's like, oh, okay, it was heavier. Like it gives you an out, right? Whether you want to,
you get to hide behind loading.
We'll be ruthless here a little bit. You're exactly what you just said. You're hiding behind loading. You're giving yourself an out and giving yourself an excuse. Like once it hurts, you're like, I'm going to put the bar down. And then as rest is going on, you're like, no, it's okay. I need to rest. It's heavier. It gives you a way to like justify it. It's a heavier thruster. I should rest a little bit longer. Maybe get some chalk, as one does, because you need chalk for most things.
Emotional support mostly.
It really, again, we could do a whole episode on that. Getting chalk is just an excuse for you to rest. I said what I said. I said what I said. Anyways, I've had this, just to throw us out there, kind of like bring it back to full circle, our little Karen, Fran, whatever. Because I did the math on the elite version in terms of total poundage of work. It's 10,600 pounds of total work. So
it's actually more than that.
Because we're not factoring in the bar muscle ups.
You're not factoring the bar muscle up. And now we've taken the bar muscle up from a pull up, which is a chin above bar pull,
range of motion here,
or a chest to bar pull, now to a pull and press.
So you essentially, if you take the pull up or a chest to bar, that's a certain range of motion. You've now, I'm sure there's a math equation to it, but let's just, for the sake of simplicity, you've essentially doubled your range of motion. You went from a full arm length under the bar to a full arm length over the bar. Yeah. So you've doubled your range of motion at whatever the body weight of the athlete is. So we're not factoring in the gymnastics. I'll factor in for me. Hold on, just one sec.
Well, and while you do that, so here's the reason that we get to get away with super high intensity in Fran is because these are non-conflicting movement patterns, right? So I squat and I press with my thruster, and then I'm doing effectively a midline hinge and a pull with my pull-up. So I have a press working against a pull. This would be a very different workout. Fran would be a very different workout if, for example, it was thrusters and burpees, right?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
2159 thrusters and burpees.
Your press is done.
Exactly. And so now factor that into the fact that you've just done 150 squats and presses with a 30-pound medicine ball, and then 45 squats and presses at 135 pounds. And then now for every one of your muscle up, your gymnastics movements, I've now got to pull my big ass up and then press out at the top, lock that shit, and then come back down.
Yeah. Well, so I did the math for me, factoring in my body weight for, and again, you can, I don't know the calculation.
Big gymnastics.
Big gymnastics. I don't know the equation for range of motion for the muscle up, because that comes into a factor as well when we're calculating total work. But in terms of total poundage of movement, I'm at, in terms of this whole workout, right? So I've done Karen with a 30-pound ball and Fran with the thrusters at 135 and bar muscle ups, because I was feeling feisty that day. I am at 19,800 pounds of total work. Now, let's just bring that back to, hold on, if we're going to put this into perspective, we had talked about a 7x1 heavy back squat at 80%, right?
Right.
Now, if I've done my back squat at 80% for 7 singles, which is a relatively standard heavy day for singles, I think.
Heavy day,
right? So in that workout, I myself, with my 80% of my best back squat, would do 2,200 pounds of total volume of the workout. So volume of weight moved. That's what I was looking for. So total volume of weight moved was 2,200 pounds in our heavy back squat day.
Yeah.
I have now taken that 10x on this day. I have now increased it to a power of 10. Off it goes. I'm not sure.
An order of magnitude.
Way, yeah, exactly. So again, that's the amount of volume and load. Not only that, but like during my 7x1 back squat, I get to do a back squat, sit down, eat a Pop-Tart, do a back squat, sit down, have some coffee. Like, you know, you get to chit chat. The intensity, even though the intensity is more in the loading, I'm still working hard, but metabolically, the demand of that load isn't absurd. It's heavy muscularly, but metabolically not absurd. This here is not only absurd amount of volume metabolically, it's also, because we've gone a heavy ball, a heavy thruster, we have introduced more load. I'm heavy for the muscle ups, which might be just my problem, but you know, the amount of load muscularly, metabolically is absurd in this workout. And which is why it's a bad idea. Kids stay in school.
Yeah. Well, and I saw this, and what drives me nuts about this is that I have this gut feeling that more likely than not, this was in a class.
And just based on the fact that there's a level system in there tells me that it kind of wasn't a class. Because if you're doing a competitors thing, like, hey, we're having all of our regionals athletes come to the gym on Saturday afternoon to do this workout, you're not putting level systems on the board because they're all regionals level athletes. So you're not doing that, you know? And
so now thinking of like all the things that we've talked about, like as coaches, if we're going to do this, I've got to teach the wall ball. I've got to teach the thruster. Thankfully, they're similar movement patterns, so I can kind of warm them up and they'll work for each other. But I've now got to give them time to load the thruster appropriately. Then I've got to teach at least 2, maybe upwards of 4 gymnastics movements because they have an assisted pull-up, a chest-to-bar, and a bar muscle-up, right? Unless you have incredibly high standards for movement virtuosity in how you execute your gymnastics, it is almost guaranteed that those are 4 separate skills, the way you teach them. And so now I've got the warm-up, 2 squats and pushes, a loading, and 4 gymnastics movements. And then what looks to be a 30-plus minute workout, maybe?
I mean, so I think the only way you could run that logistically is if you put that, like you had said, the 10-minute cap on there. So you at least have 10 minutes of rest and then 10-minute cap on the back end as well. So it kind of like stops at 30 minutes. So you're telling me, so 30-minute workout, right? You want to leave a little, like, 3 to 5 minutes at the end for people to peel, like scrape themselves off the floor and get things cleaned up for the next class, right? In theory. So now you're looking at, now you have 25 minutes at the front of class. You have 3 to 5 minutes at the whiteboard to explain all this shit and be like, hey guys, we're going to go on an adventure today. Buckle up. So that was it. That was my brief. So it took 30 seconds. So you 3 to 5 minutes at the whiteboard. So now you're at 20 minutes. You have 20 minutes to do general warm-up, wall ball, thruster, 4 different types of pulling, thruster loading, nervous poop, then workout.
Right.
20 minutes. And so again, if you are a really seasoned veteran coach, like I'm already in my head would be thinking about ways to kind of blend my teaching and warming up together. How can I use wall balling, and how can I have these guys like wall ball and kip swing their face off in the warm up so it's less technical stuff to do, or kind of like get them warm while still getting the positions that you know what I'm talking about, where you start like, I've got a tight timeline, I got to like teach and warm up and reteach at the same time.
But here's the issue with that is my experience tells me that if you are the coach who is thinking like that, more often than not, you are not also the coach who is programming that asinine shit.
No. I see. I'll tell you what happens. That pops up on a thing. Like, hey guys, the class workout you have to lead today is this. Be like, I'm just going to quit my job. That's right. Or you're just going to concede that none of your classes are going to run on a 60-minute timeline.
Or if they are going to run on a timeline, you're doing zero coaching.
Exactly. You're basically just like, hey guys, you're going to do 5 wall balls, 5 thrusters, and whatever the fuck your pull-up option is for 5 reps for like a 6-minute AMRAP. And I'm just going to sit here and just make sure no one dies. Well, and then once that's done, give you 10 minutes to put weight on your bar, and then we'll roll.
And this is so I get this thing presented to me, and here are my responses in my little Instagram group. Who the fucking hell programmed this abject stupidity? And then, in quotes, as that coach, none of my members hit depth and they don't know the first thing about intensity, but sure, fuck it. Let's give them 2 benchmark workouts and not coach anything because we don't know how to fill a 60-minute class with actual fucking instruction. So instead, we're just going to fuck them with volume. Like, I feel bad for those people.
Was that you? Was that your response in the quotes?
That was my response.
Like, okay, so that was you yeah. Okay.
As that person.
Right. I didn't know if someone else had responded to you. I was like, who's this person? Get them on this podcast. Let's get hard.
that was me.
Well, so I honestly, in my head, I was like, I could see Denise saying that. I could see Denise getting fired up about it.
The problem is she in that swears Instagram group? No, she's not in that Instagram. Denise swears once every leap year. So
this would bring it out.
Yeah, maybe.
Is this year leap year? Do we have a February 29th this year? I don't have a look at the calendar. I don't know. Oh, damn it. All right.
I want to call the people at this gym and tell them it's okay. We're sorry. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. You know?
And I call the members, you mean?
Yeah. I want to call the members at this gym and be like,
on behalf of CrossFit, I apologize.
Yeah. On behalf of coaches who give a shit everywhere, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. We're actually supposed to help you. We're not supposed to try to bury you, And as we're rounding out, we're a little over a full hour now. That's my biggest thing is I don't know how many times it has to be said by someone who can objectively be called an expert. And to be clear, I'm not talking about myself or Kevin. We've had the benefit of being around the people who objectively can be called experts. Mm-hmm. And we're, at worst, regurgitating what they said. At best, I like to think we actually understand the methodology and the principles that are at play here when we open our mouth and shit falls out. Mm-hmm. But people who have been at the highest levels, both executing in terms of competition and athletic capacity and coaching, this methodology for long stretches of time, not they found CrossFit in 2015 and went to regionals in 2017 and then they got their level 1. They had been coaching for 10 years for seminar staff when you discovered what the fuck CrossFit was.
Yep.
These people, without fail, tell us that, sure, that might be fun, but this is not what your members need.
Right.
And you do them a disservice. And you shortchange their benefits and their ability to grow and reap all of the goodness and amazing things that is CrossFit when you throw something like this at them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When it comes to programming stuff like this, I could see, because we used to do at One Nation, we'd do a suffer on Saturday where you'd come up with, hey, here's something that's just wildly audacious and ridiculous, but we're going to do it with partners or a team of 3. And you have, it wasn't an officially coached class. It was advertised as hey, if you're going to come to suffer, have 6 months or so or more of CrossFit experience. If you need help, there was always at least 10 of our coaches that were there. So it'd be hey guys, if you need help, coaches hands up, everyone raise their hand, come ask any of us during the warm-up period. We'll get you guys squared away. But a lot of it was hey, we're going to set your barbells here, set your pull-up bars there. You've got 15 minutes to find your buddy and warm things up, and then we're going to roll. And so it was a fun thing. And I remember we would do little mashups of benchmark stuff. I remember one that I programmed. One, it was so good.
Don't go down the rabbit hole. We don't have the time for it.
Okay, you're right. But you do something like that where you take a benchmark, put a twist on it, make it something a little bit more ridiculous. What it would be wildly inappropriate for class, but because you're doing Karen in a team of 3 plus heavy Fran in a team of 3 or something like that, it's it was a little bit more doable in that scenario.
Yeah. And and again, there's times and places for this, and it is my fervent hope that I'm wrong about some of the assumptions that I'm making here. I hope I'm wrong. And if someone knows, like if you know this gym and you know this workout and you know these people and I am wrong, come to me. You come to me, you tell me, you say, hey, blah, blah, blah. You tell me what the deal is. I will come back on the next fucking podcast and I will say, my name is Sam Burns. I made a bunch of assumptions and I was fucking wrong. I'll do it publicly.
I'll do the same.
I hope I'm wrong about the fact that like this was coached in a class and probably less effectively than it could be. And maybe it would not surprise me to find out that stuff like this is not uncommon. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that's not the case. But yeah. Well, Kevin, final thoughts or burning desires with regards to this topic?
No, nothing really. Just if you're out there and you're programming, like it's one thing to make the reps look pretty and make the loading look pretty and like make a workout that looks, pretty and symmetrical and whatever, but also consider like the total volume of what you're doing. I've made that mistake before in the past where it's like, oh yeah, like 4 rounds of this seems reasonable. And then you do the math and you're like, well, that's 300 wall balls. Okay. Maybe not so reasonable. So when you're making a thing, like make it look pretty symmetrical, however you want. And then do the math on the total volume. It doesn't have to, not necessarily always loading, although that can be helpful, but like just look at the total number of reps first. How many total reps of shit is going on in this workout?
Yeah.
And then from there be like, is that appropriate or not for what I'm looking for? And then that can help. That will steer you right 97.2% of the time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great sentiment to end on and really well intentioned. So from Hawaii, thank you so much for joining me here, Mr. McCarthy.
You're welcome.
I hope it warms up over there, and I'll try to bring back the good weather as much as I can.
You better.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.